What I wanted to do today is to share with you the incredible underdog story that I had the chance to be part of as the head coach of the women's basketball team. Myself and 12 athletes that worked so hard for moving from the bottom of our division, finishing last, to national champions. And I always like to tell this underdog story by starting with a dog story. When I was in university, I had a friend that really wanted to buy a husky. She loved the huskies. So the huskies are those animals that look like wolves, but they're dogs. So they're usually about like white and gray with blue eyes and straight ears and a curled tail. And she was so infatuated with huskies that she proceeded to put posters of huskies all over her room. Next thing you know, it was on her screensaver, it was on her phone, it was everywhere. One day she comes to us, a bunch of friends, she goes, "Friends, I just found out where the best husky breeder in the country is." And even though we were studying at McGill University, we were in Montreal, she says to us, she says, "The best husky breeder is in Calgary, according to her research." Well, she proceeded to buy a plane ticket to go to Calgary to pick up her very prized husky. That's how in love with that breed she was. Well, as good friends, about three of us, drove her to the Montreal airport en route to go get her beautiful husky. And when she gets to Calgary, when she got there, she then tells us the story. She says, "I got to the farm and I met the breeder. He was absolutely incredibly prideful of all that he had won, all the awards and accolades he had won for breeding the best huskies in the country. He had, medals and banners. And on the farm, when I showed up, I couldn't believe it. Immediately, I was greeted by 6 incredible fur ball of pure husky material. She was in husky heaven. She was so excited. She said she didn't know which one to pick. This one or this one. And for sure, he had made sure that because she came from so far that she had the first pick of all 6 of them. She was thrilled. And just about at the time where she didn't know which one to pick, she heard something, an interesting noise come in from the shed. She turned around and she could not really see, but she saw something coming toward her and she got scared, so she screamed. In an effort to protect her, the prideful farmer kicked whatever was coming towards her, who went back squealing in the shed. And she was really bothered by that. And she says, I'm sorry, what was that? And the farmer just ignored her. He's just, "Hey, so which one are you going to pick? We're so proud of it. There's other people coming later tonight, so you get a first pick." And she goes, "I'm sorry, what was that noise? What did I see?" And at that point, she looked and she saw a little face coming out again, she says. She realized, is that one of the puppies? At that point, the farmer kind of felt, okay, she caught me. Well, he says to her, "I don't understand how this one got out this way. You see, we have these wonderful white fur, gray fur, blue eyes, straight ears, tail curled huskies. I don't know why this one came out this way, but don't worry about it. In fact, we don't even feed it all that much. If it's not going to survive, it's just okay with us." Well, my friend that's obviously a dog lover said, "That is one of your huskies. I want this one." Well, the farmer at that point actually got angry with her. And he was like, "Listen, you fly all the way to get the pure husky, and you're gonna leave here with a dog that has floppy ears, tail between the legs, that is brown, beige, and black with brown eyes." And she said, "Yeah, I want that dog." So after they actually thought about it, he said, listen, you can leave with that dog. But he was very upset about it, and he says, you cannot ever tell anybody where you took that dog from, because I honestly don't know how it came out this way. So my friend left Calgary with her German Shepherd-looking husky and proceeded to take the plane back to Montreal. Well, we're excited, the time is coming to go pick her up, and we are anxiously waiting to see this beautiful wolf coming out of the cage at the airport. Can you imagine our surprise when the cage arrived on the oversized bag place, and she opened the cage, and we saw this scruffy fur, floppy ears, German Shepherd-looking dog. We were so confused. We just said, what happened? And she says, what do you mean, what happened? I told you I was going to go buy a husky. I came back with a husky. And at that point, we're not sure which part we're not getting, but we're like, okay, like, you mean that, so it's not a German Shepherd? No. And then she got upset at us. Do not ever, ever, ever dare to say that this is a German Shepherd. It is a husky. We're going to treat her like a husky. We're going to love her as a husky. We're going to pet her as a husky. We're going to tell her she's a husky. And with time, love, affection, belief, and vision, where this dog is going to be transformed one of the most amazing, successful huskies of all time. We could not laugh like you did. So we said, okay. So we bought in the plan. And we started to invest in this husky. It was obvious that it had been abused. Obvious. I mean, first of all, it would not eat in front of people. It would go hide to eat the food. When somebody would come at the door, especially if they were taller or they had a strong voice, it would go and hide under the sofa immediately. We couldn't really hug the dog. It wasn't affectionate whatsoever. And the worst is, we would take it for a walk, and it would be scared of squirrels. Like, we thought, this is a disaster. But we kept and kept going with her strategy, just because we were good friends. We did this, and we invested in the dog for 2 straight years. 2 years of believing in the plan and moving forward with every night petting the dog and telling her she doesn't have to be scared, the tail can go up, she can bark if she wants to. No way. 2 years. 2 years is very long. Finally, after 2 years of investment, and there was 5 of us total, 5 friends that would really invested in this dog. 5 people, 2 years. Finally, guess what happened? Nothing. Like, the dog didn't change. The dog would still be scared, and the dog would still not want to, interact with others all that much. And the sad part is that my friend graduated from university and found a job in a different country. So the dog was going to be abandoned. Nobody wanted the dog. And that was really sad for me. So Mika became my dog. And then one night I looked at her after I got her and I said, okay, now it's you and I, and you are going to become a beautiful husky. I'm going to invest in you and believe in you and tell you that this is possible and pet you and make you feel comfortable. And we're going to go chase squirrels together and we're going to go out there. And we did this. This friend left, but our house, which was about 3, there was 4 minutes for us, then 3. We did this for 2 more years. 2 more years we did this with Doug. By age 4, for the first time, Mika chased a squirrel. And she started to eat in front of us. And once in a while, she would come in and give us a little kiss. It was unbelievable that it was after 4 years that the human eyes, we could see all the transformation and work that had been done that we could not have seen before. It didn't mean that there was no transformation before. It just meant that we could not notice it. Obviously, Mika wasn't transformed overnight. So the changes that were internal, psychological is theirs to be, in terms of security and trust, it took 4 years for the human eyes to see that. And in fact, if you knew myself, you would know my dog, because we're always together. And to this day, she's 15 years old now, but she's still alive. And she's come to work with me almost every day. And she's so social right now. She's a social butterfly. She comes to the office in the morning after our little walk and stretches at about 10 o'clock because it's time to go get her cookies from Rick. How amazing is this? She goes around to Rick's office, he gets a cookie and a little pet, and she comes back. And at about 12, she goes and she goes see somebody else. That is unbelievable. If you even see me at the park, you will know that to this day, even though she is 15, it is impossible to leave Wilstead Park without making sure that all the squirrels are very safe in the tree. You see, Mika taught me one of the greatest leadership lessons of all time. And that is that from an underdog, anybody with time, work, and belief can become a top dog. And that was amazing because I was doing my master's at McGill in leadership while this whole thing was happening. So all the books, scientific articles, and research I had the chance to read, and those are hundreds of it, in the field of military, business, healthcare, education, and of course coaching. All the top leaders in the world, all the people that can take a bankrupt company and turn it into a Fortune 500, or leave from nothing and become outstanding. Stories even like Oprah, a single person that leaves from a difficult family who becomes an incredible role model and obviously billionaire. How do these people do it? How do you take a sports team, that was my interest, from the bottom of the league to champion? How do you do this? For 3 years I had the chance to research this. And what the research and the books were absolutely outstanding. When I came to the University of Windsor, and we had the chance to establish a theoretical model, I won't bore you with this, that I had the chance to apply myself in my work. All that model was great, but nothing was as motivating to me to go walk my dog every morning and every night and say, I need to be patient. There's a vision to transform the Windsor Women's Lancers basketball team, 50 years, more or less, in the bottom of the league to national champion. And that will take time. And transforming the culture of an organization is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And in all of this, like I said in the video, it would be impossible to do this just by actions of doing. I had to remember the research, and I had to remember that first and foremost, I had to change as a leader. I had to become a better leader as part of it. That was the hardest part. Changing the culture involved changing me, first of all. Windsor women's basketball team was very similar to the Mika story. People in the league used to say, they used to not even call it Windsor, they used to say it's called Windsor 2. Because every time they would come down the 401 to play against us, it would be 2 points in the win column. And that was their only motivation to come here because they all hated the 4-hour drive, right? And then I started to recruit, so I made this plan. I transformed the Mika strategy into the women's basketball transformational plan. And I say, 5 years. It took her 4, it's going to take my team 5. 5 years, we're going to win a national championship. And I went on the recruiting trail. Because once you have a vision, you need to sell the vision. You need to find the right players. You need to recruit them. You need to retain them. You need to surround yourself with a dynamic staff And the two first coaches that joined me, after I showed them our plan, my plan, of doing this, they were like, okay, Chantal, I'm in. Just like my friend, when we were in for changing her German Shepherd-looking husky. And one of them said to this day, he says, you know what, I joined you really because I have pity of you. I never thought we could win a national championship. I didn't think it was possible. On the recruiting trail, it was amazing because once you start showing your plan to parents, to athletes, come play for Windsor. This is amazing. Wait, our school reputation? Wait, the Maclean's magazine? The city? What do you mean? You call this an armpit? I didn't know all these things, right? People calling Windsor the armpit of the country was one of the first thing I heard, and I thought, what have I done? Why have I moved from Montreal? This is a really difficult place. The reputation of the city and of the university was other challenges that we had to move forward from. In 2005, when I was hired, if you remember the state of our city, it was going through a very difficult economic time. The big three was failing. Ford, Chrysler, GM. There was foreclosure signs everywhere. People were moving out of Windsor. Remember that? At that time, it's not like the housing market was like it's today. And people were leaving. And I had to convince people not only to come to Windsor, to come play for a team that wasn't good, to come play to a school that at that time didn't have that much of a good reputation. I had to convince them to move from Toronto to come here into a place where everybody was leaving. And all I could remember was, it takes time. It takes time. That's okay. Now, I say this today, I can tell you, because we're all in leadership here, that I cried a lot. It's okay. It's okay to cry sometimes about the job and how hard it is. And that was certainly part of my path. But I decided to keep it a strategy. And I would call people and I would tell them the plan. And one time this gentleman, he had such a good daughter. I really wanted his daughter to come play for me. And I said, please bring daughter to play for Windsor. Here's what is in it for her. Here's what we can give her. Here's how she's going to be transformed. And by the time she graduates, she'll win a national championship. And he looks at me and he says, you're either disillusioned, crazy, or from Quebec. I always remember that one quote. But slowly, one player at a time, out of an odd circumstance, would say to me, yeah, I like your vision. It speaks to me. It resonates within me. I want to be part of something great. I want to be part of the transformational process. I'll come play for Windsor. Wow, that's one. And one of the stories I really like to tell is the story from the 6'5" player I recruited from the Czech Republic. 6'5", because we have to recruit internationally. You think you'd win with a 6'5" player, that's awesome. So we present the plan, and I had the chance to meet her in the summer over in Europe, and she was heavily recruited by all kinds of schools in the States. But because we had a personal connection before I was the coach at Windsor, I said, we've got a great university, you can come play for me, study, do your master's degree, and your undergrad and your master's. What do you think? She says, let me talk to my parents. Canada might be something that parents would be interested in. She calls me back 2 days later. She goes, Coach, I have talked to my parents. We have agreed to come to Windsor. We actually looked at pictures of your country. Banff looks amazing. I'm in. Okay. So I immediately hung up the phone, and without any major resources, because at that time I also learned we had to fundraise about $100,000 a year for us to operate the program, which I didn't know at the beginning, which is okay. And I thought, oh, how do we bring the girls to Calgary? Because if she's coming here to play for me, I want her to see Calgary. So we took the phone, called the University of Calgary, and said, we're coming in. Now I needed to find the money. Fortunately, despite the difficult financial situation, people, when presented with a plan, will believe. And we had enough donation that year to bring it into Calgary, thankfully. We went there, and she saw Banff. What's even more amazing, it turned out that the national championship was hosted at the University of Calgary, something we could not have known before. And she won her last game in Canada, in Calgary. and celebrated at Banff. That's amazing. These stories are all encouraging, and I know there's a lot of thinking to do. Perhaps at a different time, if you get a chance to hear me speak more, you hear a chance to see about the research that we did and how the top coaches and the top leaders actually transform things. But for today, at this luncheon, and the first one organized by the United Way in that sense, I just want to give you a motivational story that you can take back and maybe remember that with a vision and a plan, everything is possible. To keep dreaming, because sometimes as adults, we need to tend towards the realistic. And if I had listened to everybody who told me, don't go to Windsor, this is a professional suicide, I would not be here today. If I had listened to all my colleagues or coaches that says, it is impossible to win in Windsor, I would not be here today. I like this quote very much, and it goes, we didn't know it was impossible, so we did it. And coming from Quebec, not knowing much about Windsor, I didn't know that it was impossible. And so we did it. As a mental image, if you don't remember anything I said today, I want to give you this one image I like to end my talk on, so that you can remember Mika. And in the end, you can see how she's beautiful. Her ears are almost straight. I can kind of see them. They're straight. And obviously, black and beige, brown eyes, the most amazing, beautiful husky of Canadian history. And please don't tell me she looks like a German Shepherd. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your meal. Thank you. Wow. Thank you.